If you're here for the books, I'll see you over at Two Mice on My Bookshelf, link down below and on my channel banner. If you're here to check out what tarot collection I have for sale, I'll see you on Instagram, my collection for sale. For the rest of you, I have today with me Tarocchi Orientali. This is by somebody whose name I cannot pronounce, Foudraz. Please let me know down below if that is the correct pronunciation. It is estimated to be from 1845. So it is also known as Tarocchi Foudraz, or Tarocchi, however you pronounce that name. It's from Italy, 1845, and this is one of Giordano Berti's wonderful reproduction. And his company is called again, it's something I can never pronounce, Rinacimento, I think, Italy. Rinacimento, that's right, Rinacimento Italian style art. This is a reproduction, or a facsimile, I should say, from 1846. So just for context, my understanding, at around about the late 1800s and early 1900s, there is a revival, or not a revival, but there is an interest on everything Far East or Eastern or Asian and Egyptian, and everything that seems to be very exotic and very magical, so different from Western Europe. And it's no accident if you look at fashion in the 1920s and 1910, where the top of the ladies in the flapper era have very low hanging underarms in their clothing, and it's crossed at the front almost like a kimono. I suppose this particular tarocchi came in around that period of not necessarily just Western Europe, I suppose, and Italy is not quite Western Europe, I think it's Southern Europe, isn't it? So the Western world, quote unquote, in general, has this fascination with the East, quote unquote, and this is what their take or their interpretation of what a Chinese tarot might look like. And so these days we don't say Oriental anymore. I know there's a reason for it, which I can't remember. Again, if I can find any information on that, I will put down below. Otherwise, please let me know if any of you remember why the term Oriental is no longer appropriate. There is a book called Orientalism, I think, by Edward Said, that is very, very good. I will link that down below. And so, as you can see here, it is not quite, it is definitely an outsider's take of the culture. Now, in the 21st century, I do wonder, and I know this is on a lot of people's minds, but no one wants to broach the topic. Would this be considered cultural appropriation in the 21st century? I don't know. I know at least two people of Chinese heritage, or have Chinese ancestry somewhere along their family tree, who owns this deck and found this to be absolutely charming. I am a third person I know, which I found this really, really charming. I laugh at some of the depiction, because it is clearly, in my mind, showing an outsider's trying to reach into the culture of my ancestors. And there isn't, for me, appropriation, which I will talk about in a separate video, has a certain power dynamic inherent in the definition. Now, because I wasn't alive in the late 1800s or mid 1800s when this was issued, although I know enough, not much, but enough of history to know that once upon a time China was forced to accept opium, and to a devastating effect. And so definitely China was not one of the powerhouses in the world anymore in the 1800s. So certainly there is power imbalance there. But within the confine of these cards alone, though, I don't see anything here which suggests to me that people outside the culture took the artifact of the Chinese culture and misuse it. They simply represent the characterization of a quote-unquote Western card game, the Tarocchi, and express the images in this, what do you call this, chinois. There is a term for everything that is Chinese stylized in the sort of Far East, quote-unquote, aesthetic sensibilities. And as I've mentioned, this penetrates fashion, from furnitures to clothing to everything. And that happens all the time in life, where we assimilate the elements of other cultures into our own as part of embracing rather than of ownership, if you know what I mean. So the minors are pretty standard, and these are definitely not Chinese cups, I don't think. If you know any better, please let me know. From my own layperson's visual vocabulary, I don't remember these as correct, as typical Chinese cups or chalices, but please do let me know. So, and again, the clothing is a little off, and I can't quite tell you how it's off, but you could see the Western influence there. And I appreciate that. For whatever reason, the image just feels like this is a part of that time where Far East or East Asian or exotic, the Far East, this world, the desire to incorporate these aesthetics into their own. We can talk about cultural appropriation in a different video. Now I just want to show you the images, and the cardstock is lovely. It's that typical art paper, what do you call it, this sort of old-fashioned cards printed on, and so it's not laminated, I don't believe, and I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of longevity after many shufflings. These are facsimiles. I collect these old cards, old playing cards facsimiles, as more of reference material. So this is the Queen of Coins there, and of course the outfit's quite if you Google royalties in the Empire of China of the period that this is trying to emulate, this obviously this outfit is far from accurate, but, and I'm quite fascinated by this little dangly bells that seems to be everywhere. So this reminds me of there's a particular tarot that's very florid in their minors, depiction of the minors and the batons. What is it called? I can't remember now. I'll put a video of that up here somewhere, or at the end of this video. It's very florid. The image is in my mind, but I have been out of a bit of the loop with tarot that these memories are escaping me at the moment. That was reproduced by Il Meneghello. So again, this is more of a caricatures of an outsider's perspective of the culture. But once again, as I said, I do not believe this qualifies as cultural appropriation, because given the context of the time, it is a desire to know better. It is a desire to incorporate elements of the aesthetic sensibilities of what most people in the West at the time considered to be unique and different and fascinating, without necessarily the desire to overpower. Again, stay tuned for a bit of chat about cultural appropriation, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.